So how do you create true urgency when you have a funnel? You can learn a lot of what to do by looking at what not to do. And a very common thing I see online is you'll have some web page, and this web page will have a timer. So it might say 6 hours, 3 minutes, and like 27 seconds or whatever it is. And it's pretty close to the deadline. You have a lot of urgency to make that purchase. But deep down, you're thinking, is this a real timer? Am I truly limited to these 6 hours, or can I just come back tomorrow? Well, you come back tomorrow, and shocker, we have the same timer. It's basically a false deadline. Now, deadlines done properly can build a lot of urgency, but I don't believe it's the only way to create urgency. We're going to talk about a variety of things here. So if you've already heard me talk about the importance of deadlines for urgency, you're going to get more than just that in this video. But the problem with this here, besides that it's fake, is it destroys trust. And this is how I do things, right? I believe trust is the core value of what I offer. If I sell something to you, I want you to trust that I'm going to get you the result. And I put trust through the entire journey. If we can maximize trust, people are going to buy from us because they trust us. It's pretty obvious and pretty simple, but what exactly builds trust? And how do we convert trust into money? So that's one thing not to do. And here's another thing not to do. And I've even made this mistake on accident. So we have a coupon. Let's say it's 30 off or whatever it might be. And we say this expires tonight at midnight. So similar idea, we have a deadline. But then after the deadline, the coupon still works. I've made that mistake where I've set the wrong deadline for the coupon, and then people make the purchase after the sale is supposed to be over. Well, what exactly does that communicate to the person? It says that they can't trust what I have to say. So that's just a mistake. But if you're doing stuff like that on purpose, that's going to kill trust. So we already have two bad things here. We have fake timers, mistakes in offer. The third thing that I see all the time are these extended offers. These are the worst for me anyways, because basically when I extend an offer, I communicate to the contact, hey, when I say something, it's not actually true because I'm going to come back and then I'm going to continue to make that offer to you. So these micro lies in your marketing are very bad because they make little slices in your trust, and over time that's going to degrade your trust, not just with that person, but overall with everybody that works with you. And that's why there's some content creators and coaches online where I watch their stuff. They might be annoying to me, but I trust them and I trust that they will get people results. So I watch a lot of online marketing content, and some of the people, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would want to hang out with this person, but if I was going to get help in marketing, that person would probably help me get results because I trust them through their content, and I don't catch any of these weird micro lies and little mistakes across their messaging. Inconsistent delivery. And not so much the timing, like posting every Monday, but more so the way that you deliver the content and what you say in that content. And I've made a lot of these mistakes too. I mean, I've never done fake timers and I've never done extended offers, but something I have done is I make promises and then I fail to deliver on them for various reasons. So for example, hey, we're doing an early access course and the content's going to come out every week, and then I fall behind, and then, people are like, where's the content? So if you fail to deliver, that's going to kill trust. That's a mistake I've made, and it might not, undo the sale that you made, but it's going to hurt your reputation for that future sale. So at least by acknowledging some of the mistakes you've made, you can improve your overall trust level. So all of these things describe trust, and having more trust in what you do, you're going to have a better time overall. It's like when you're playing a video game and you invest all of your points into luck. That's kind of the way trust works. You infuse trust in your customers, and it's going to improve the overall experience from beginning to end. You're going to get more signups for lead magnets. You're going to get more sales. You're going to get more clients to sign up for calls. You're going to sell more coaching programs. You're going to have higher engagement in the program. If people trust what you have to say, you're going to have better conversions everywhere. So that's trust and how to have it throughout all of your content and programs. But you can do some very specific things in funnels to utilize that trust, basically spending your trust credit to get people to purchase. We'll talk about that. But the second major thing is genuine urgency. So we've talked a lot about deadlines. this is a huge one, but it's not the only way to create urgency. And this is very close to the idea of scarcity. It's another tactic you can use, such as, hey, we're only working with 5 people. But that goes back to the trust thing. Whenever I see an ad and it's like, hey, I'm looking for 5 software developers to do whatever, I'm like, bro, you're telling me if 6 came to you, you're going to turn down the 6th one? No, it's like a marketing tactic. And at least for me, who has seen this 1,000 times, it reduces the amount I trust that person. So we're not going to get into scarcity too much in this one. It's very similar in idea to urgency, but you're going to change the mechanism. So instead of capping by time, you can cap by the number. So the first 10 people to purchase get some bonus, or the first 10 people get this price, or I only work with this many people at a time and I have 2 slots open. That is scarcity and can also be used to encourage a purchase. Might be something we dedicate an entire video on at some point, but we're going to talk mainly about trust and genuine urgency, because there's a lot of things you can do to allow you to sell in an evergreen way, people continually buying your stuff because of the trust and because of the urgency. Scarcity is a fabulous tactic for coaching programs or things of that nature, or, cohort training courses, whatever it might be. But they're more challenging to implement in evergreen systems. So if you're trying to sell a medium ticket product and that thing is for sale all of the time, scarcity is a little bit more challenging. Not impossible though, but again, off topic from the focus of this video, let's talk about genuine urgency. The biggest thing is deadlines, but we don't want to do it the wrong way, like we talked about with the fake timer that just shows a time to show that you have to buy it now. That's frustrating and lowers trust. What we want to do instead is genuine deadlines for that person, or campaigns if you have a launch ending on a certain day. Those are genuine. Even if the time is arbitrary, you give them 5 days. We're basically manufacturing some urgency, but it's true because they cannot re-get that offer in the future, or it's more difficult to get that offer in the future. I used the example in another video where basically if somebody buys a course, this could be the trigger for an evergreen deadline. So they might have 5 days to upgrade to a more extensive product or program, and you give them a discount here. So this is a genuine deadline because the trigger is to buy a course. It's not visiting a web page. If the trigger is visiting a web page and you start a timer, it's not genuine because it's too easy to reproduce. So that's the big thing with deadlines, is do your best to make them genuine. I'll talk about how I am enabling creators and coaches to do this within Course Catalyst super easily without having to use any external tools. I've been using an external tool that allows for genuine deadline timers. I pay $100 a month for that, or I think like $99 or something, just to have deadlines in a funnel. That's wild to me. So I just built it natively into the platform. By using Course Catalyst, you get that and you don't have to pay for some external service. Plus, it's all integrated with the Course Catalyst backend, so we can do some special stuff that you couldn't do with an external tool. The other thing that we can do is have a discount. And that's kind of expected, right? Because what would the deadline be? Why don't I just go to the page later and make a purchase? Well, I'm going to miss out on that discount. So we want to discount the product enough so it feels like they should buy it at that point, but we don't want to discount it too much that it feels fake and trust is lowered. Now, I know these bundling offers can be very valuable. You can get a lot with it, but I get so annoyed when I go to some web page and it looks like this, $400,000, and then that's crossed out and it says $9, limited time. And with this purchase, you get 7,000 PDFs and ebooks. You may have seen this, maybe not, but this bundling strategy is a common approach where you throw in a bunch of very low ticket things, and that package deal makes this purchase feel like an obvious yes. Even people have reached out to me to include my product in some of these bundles, which if it's the right product wouldn't hurt me if it's priced appropriately. I get a kickback whenever somebody makes a sale or they give me some money up front, whatever it might be. But if I'm selling a medium ticket thing for $500 and they get it in a bundle for $9 with 300 other things, that's going to lower the trust in my stuff. So I ultimately did not do that. So you don't want to discount too much. A good measure might be like 30 to 50%. That's a substantial price cut, but it still protects the value of the program. So you can get very far with this. This is what you need for urgency, but you can get much farther with a third thing here. And it pairs well with discount. It's like the opposite side of a coin. So discount is one side of the coin, and then limited bonus is the other side. And the reason I say these are flip sides of a coin is because the goal here is the same. They're both giving the person something extra, but they are doing it in two completely different ways. At first, it might feel like they're the same, but let's just go through an example. Let's say there was something I've been considering purchasing and it's $500. Now it's on sale for $400. So in theory, you can think of me as making $100, right? Because you'll justify spending any amount of money if it can save you some money. But now I have a decision. Do I want to spend $400 to save future me $100? So $400 now saves me $100 later. Because now I'm not at some point gonna have to buy it for $500. But I might look at this decision and say, I think I'll just risk it. If I want it bad enough, I'll buy it later at the full price. Because the only thing I'm risking here is $100, which for many people in this scenario is not that much, because the risk of buying it and losing $400 outweighs the benefit of saving $100. So discounts are useful, but they incentivize through reducing the cost. Discounts will put the person on the fence. Limited bonuses will close the deal. So a limited bonus, the reason they work is because it's something they cannot get at a later point. So let's say with this deal, not only do I save $100, and we never actually came up with an example product, so it's kind of hard to come up with a limited bonus. I'll just say what I do with my other products. I do for this discount here. I price it a little bit differently, but this is the fundamentals. It's training, right? But then I have a bonus of modules on mindset, networking, since it's career related for software engineering. And the big thing here is recorded, so not actually live, but recorded live calls. They were live at one point with high-level engineers, staff engineers, talking about how to get software engineering roles, how to prepare for interviews, doing resume reviews. Pretty much something you would normally have to pay tons of money for is completely free, but you can only get this with the limited time offer. I have one other way to get it, which is included in a much larger purchase. So if you buy my full program, you'll get it there. So it doesn't have to be 100% exclusive, but we don't just want to be handing this out to everybody. It's a valuable resource. So a discount sells you by requiring less from you. A limited bonus sells by giving more to you. And the fact that you can't get that thing in the future, you don't have the same kind of mental math of, do I want to pay the full price later? Because if I pay the full price later, I miss out on this. And wow, what a loss. Pairing these two things together, you're going to be unstoppable. A couple of other ideas for the limited bonus. Let's talk about the pros and cons of different types real quick. I won't bore you to death. Just a quick 30-minute side note. Common one is digital products. That's because they cost you nothing. The bonus should be very valuable to the person, cost you nothing or very little to produce. But sometimes it's hard to convince people of that value. You know, if you give them some free PDF or reference guide, that stuff is gradually becoming less and less useful, especially when I could just ask AI to generate something or like just look it up online. So you have to really think what kind of digital product would truly be valuable. It could be some extra modules. It could be an ebook. It could be something that's adjacent. So, you know, not just how to do software development, but how do you then turn that software development into a job or a business? Something that many people would find value in it, but it's not directly related to the original thing. Those are just a couple of ideas. It might take some upfront effort from you, but the better that bonus, the more serious people will fall into your urgency trap. That's effectively what we're trying to do. The other thing is live stuff. Now this costs you a lot more, but is irreplaceable. If you, as a potential customer, could get a call with the person selling the thing, you're going to see that as a lot of value, most likely. Some people don't want to do calls. I think my wife bought a couple online courses and they might have offered calls. And she's like, yeah, I don't even really want that. I just want the course. Many people are going to love that they can meet with you. But every time you do that, it's going to cost you your time and mental bandwidth, helping everybody with their problems and going through these calls and fragmenting your schedule. There's a lot of issues with this. So you have to make sure the price tag is worth it. If you make a sale and that sale requires a bonus of a live call, are you going to be upset or are you going to be happy? You can use that as a measurement. If you're upset about it, then you're not going to scale, because the higher you go, the more bad it's going to get. So what can you do? You can frame this live stuff to be a moneymaker. Realistically, everything you do should make you money or give you some value in some way. So even a free lead magnet, that information they gave you, you should see that as money. So even if the live call does not end with you taking a credit card, it can still plant seeds with that customer to make money from them in the future. So here's an example. All right, so they buy the bonus. We have a discount and we have, let's just say, a free resume review. Whatever somebody would find valuable, you actually want to deliver on value. So please don't just make this a sales call, or it could just be a general consultation. In this call, keep it short. You could basically keep it on the short side, but have gaps in your calendar. So for example, if you're using a tool like Calendly, you might have hours split up like this, and the calls get booked for 20 minutes at the front of each hour. Obviously, that's going to waste a lot of time, but you could just do them when it's appropriate. And then if a call goes longer, you have that time gap, but you have a pretty good excuse to get off the call if you go through everything in 20, 30 minutes. If you schedule every single one for an hour, people are going to expect that hour. And if you don't deliver on the promise, then it's going to kill trust. So just be cautious with that. Anyways, let's just go with the example of the free resume review. In this, you could basically ask a question. How serious are you about this? What's your goal? And let's say they say casual, just learning, no biggie. Don't really need the resume review, but wanted to get on a call. If they're serious, you can pitch them your program, see if they're interested. Or what might be another idea is have your paid content nurture that person. So if they're serious, book a follow-up call, say 2 weeks out, or however long it takes to get through everything or most of it. Or maybe there's a common quitting point. Let's say if it's like a fitness offer, maybe people often fall off after the first week. Book a follow-up call at a week or 2 weeks. At 2 weeks, you're chatting with them. Oh yeah, man, I just didn't really stick with the program. You know, whatever that magic length is where people might start falling off. And that's where you can then close the deal, because they need your program to see the results implemented in their life. You don't want to go too far out where they lose momentum and don't see it happening. And you don't want to do it too soon where they just started and they can just say, yeah, let me just go through the course it's teaching me and I'm doing fine. So just think about how to time that. And what I would do in this situation is, if someone was serious, I would say, okay, well, let's schedule a follow-up call and we'll see how you're doing with the progress. I think and I would say this directly to them, I think having that follow-up call is going to help you stay accountable to actually progressing through this material. But what we can do is we can check in at that point and see if there are any issues you're having with the program, or see if you need more help. And in that situation, we can talk about, see if it makes sense for you to be one of my career coaching clients. So basically, I seed that it's a potential sales call, so they don't get on there thinking they're going to be encouraged and just have a chat. And then you're pitching some program. They're going to be like, what is going on here? So they clearly know that this call could potentially end in them paying you money. And then you could gauge if they want to do that or not. And then you could book the call if it's appropriate. I'm kind of making this up on the fly, right? Like, this is not what I did, but this is what I would have done if I didn't have that free digital product. That's what I decided to go with, because I don't want to be doing calls with people. It's not really my cup of tea. I would rather invest my time in creating content here. So it's just like a choice on my end. But for many people, all in all, this might take an hour or an hour and a half of working with that client, but it might end with them paying you $5,000 or $10,000. Genuinely. My mentorship program, my peak prices were $11,000. I think if I did this structure with every single person who bought my course, I could have made a lot of money. Looking back, perhaps this would have been a better strategy when I was running the mentorship program instead of trying to directly sell, get them on a booked call and pitching my program. Because the distance is too big, we're trying to bring them from nothing to a huge purchase. That can work, and it did work at times, but this would work well because one, I get the medium ticket price sale. Those hundreds of dollars are going to stack up over time. And two, I already know my most promising leads. I don't have to go and ask random people a bunch of questions to see if it makes sense for me to work with them and try to get them on a sales call. Basically, let the system do the work, and then you would do very minimal work for a very high success rate. That's how you want to structure things. So anytime you do a call, you are excited about it because you know it's going to translate into a new customer. Now, whenever I can, I like to tell some story from some other coach or someone I've met throughout my journey. As I've mentioned in other videos, I've spoken with a lot of coaches through different coaching programs that have people in that community and through masterminds. One person I talked to, he did career coaching. I didn't really do career coaching. I mean, it was part of my offer because I was helping people land roles. But really what I did is I just gave them a networking framework and I helped them with the skills for the interviews. That networking framework would get them the interviews and then they could succeed with knowing the actual stuff. The career coaching was dedicated just on that career portion, and he just went straight to that resume review call. Pretty much what he did is he would blast his email list offering this free resume review. In that, he would offer some value, actually giving some help to the person, and then basically building a gap for them to make a purchase into his full career coaching program. So you don't need to have such a long funnel. You can keep it really short if the end goal is ultimately the coaching program, but many people want to do the online medium ticket sales as well. That's what I like to do, and I don't want to be getting on a bunch of calls doing resume reviews or helping people with leak code problems or whatever it might be for my type of offer. But you can think about what structure you want, and ultimately if you're building trust and you're having urgency with those funnels, you're probably going to have some pretty good success. So let's kind of bring this back to where we started. We talked about that timer in the web page. Everybody knows it's fake. How would you fix that problem? Well, within Course Catalyst, we have sequences that are deadline focused. So we have a page here. Let's say this is your landing page. And instead of having just a fake timer at the top, we could put a banner with a real timer. Or, since it's all tied in with our backend, we could even put a true component in the page. We don't have to do any weird front end conditional logic of whether to show it or not. I won't get into the technical details, but all of this can be sent from the server because the server knows what offers you have. It can see you have pending offers. It is tied to your contact. Your contact information is your account. You can then go make a purchase with a deadline that's true to you. So in our sequence builder, we can have a deadline for emails. When they click this, it brings them to the page, automatically putting the custom code for the person and anything on the page, and even adjusting any prices. So you could have it something like this. And since this is tied to that contact information, it's not fake urgency because once that expires, they're not going to be able to just visit the page again and get that same offer. You have to hit the trigger conditions for them to be enrolled in that deadline, which could be a purchase, it could be a lead magnet. Typically, I would have it to be a lead magnet, which promotes a purchase, and then that purchase promotes an upsell. That's the funnel I would recommend for people starting out. And you can infuse that with real deadlines, and then in your emails and on your website, you can talk about any bonuses that are tied to that offer that are going to go away. So you can say, after this deadline, you're going to lose out on the savings, you're going to lose out on this bonus call or this bonus ebook or whatever it might be. And because this is built into our system and backend, it's possible even when the person logs into your general website where they might access their coaching modules or any other course content, it's technically possible to put in any active offers on their account since all of this is built off of that universal contact. So it all ties back to this person, giving you basically a much more integrated experience for deadlines than what you might get using an external email provider and some external deadline tool. Plus, it's all included in the price, so you don't have to go pay for some extra tool. So I just wanted to solve that problem natively in the platform. But if you're like, okay, Caleb, we get it, stop selling. Well, surprise, that's the goal of this content. It's to sell you, help you trust what I have to say here, but even if you don't use Course Catalyst, the principles of what I said for the funnel hold true, so you can design this on any platform using urgency through deadlines and limited time special offers and discounts. Now, obviously, trust and urgency are just two attributes of how you can promote a sale, but you're still going to need some other stuff that I didn't get into in this video. So I would still recommend having as many case studies or testimonials as humanly possible, actually giving value in the lessons, answering any questions, providing some value, but not going full teacher mode. Basically, we're not ignoring all of those components. So I don't want you to build a funnel and just go 3000% on urgency. So it's very high pressure, very low value, very low trust. So when I say trust, it encompasses all of those things, building a very valuable sequence. So while we're not going to cover all of that, don't forget about those things. Thank you so much for watching. What we're going to do in the next lesson is I'm actually going to talk about my design choices, because I did a couple of things unique that are different than other platforms that I believe make it simpler and better. So if you're interested in that stuff, we're going to get into some of the juicy details, but maybe I just like that stuff because I have software engineering background, and you might be a coach and you're like, yeah, I don't care as long as I can make money. That's fine as well. So we'll see how that video does, but I would love for you to check it out because I think you'll be blown away with some of the things we have built into Course Catalyst and the actual core design decisions I made based off of my beliefs and convictions on how these funnels and systems should work compared to other platforms out there who are doing it wrong. Thank you. And if you want to get started with your first funnel, I have a free course down below. It tells you exactly how to structure your content, and it'll help you get things set up. So check it out. See you there.